Coming at you with another design video, and today we are going to learn how to make our very own DIY save the date. Now this one is particularly special because I created it to be used with DIY scratch off paint. If you're interested in learning how to make your own scratch off paint, or you prefer to use the stickers that you can just get off Amazon, link in my description box, then I will link the article below in the description as well. Now, I want to let you all know that I am a Cricut Access member, which means that some of the fonts and images that I have access to, you might not be able to have access to. So I would encourage you to use all of your resources. You can check out creativefabrica.com if you're interested in getting other images, a little bit wider of a range. Or if you're a Cricut Access member, just use the images and fonts that are located right in Design Space. All right, so here we go. Let's make our save the dates. First, we're going to start with a shape. If you would like curved edges on your save the date, you can choose one of these options, but I like nice sharp edges. So I'm going to unlock this square and I'm going to make it a 5x4 save the date. So this is my save the date. It's gray right now. We'll change this to white because we know we're going to be printing this on white paper. Now, one of the fonts that I love so far for this season is BFC Vintage Champagne. I'm going to go ahead and type Tea with the Bride to Be. And that's going to be my call to action, what this is for. I think because my because my save the date is 5 inches wide, I think it makes the most sense to just manually type that in as 3.5, and I'm just going to place this somewhere. Now, another font that I'm really in love with is called Greyhound. So I'm going to click on the text button. I'm going to come over and I'm going to search for Greyhound. And I'm going to make this my big save the date title. Okay. Again, because I know how large this is, I want this to be kind of up to the cusp, but not over. So we're actually going to make that one just 4 inches. I think I like that. And then maybe make this one, yeah, let's leave it. I think that looks pretty good. All right, cool. So we got save the date. We got tea with the bride to be. I'm also going to need to put a formal invitation to follow. Okay, and I want this to be probably 3.75, just so it's a little bit more eye appealing. Now this envelope and save the date is over here for reference. If you would like to see all the content that I made as well as my save the date original project, I will link that below in the description box as well. But I wanted to show you how easily you could take this design that I've already created and just make your own theme. This is going to be for a high tea or a garden party or a bridal shower tea themed party. I'm all about tea right now, so that's what I wanted to do. Now, where this shamrock is, I'm going to come over here to images and I'm going to type specifically one that I want. So the code for that is it's M5059930B. And this is going to give me a tea border or leaf border because it's loose leaf tea that I'll be using for Make With Me Monday this coming Monday. So I definitely want it to stay within theme. Again, we want this to be about, I would say maybe 4 inches. Oh, goodness. Let's take that back. We need to lock this in place because we want the dimensions or the ratio to remain the same. So we want this to be 4 inches, which means it changes down there. And I'm going to place this right under where it says formal invitation to follow. But I obviously don't want it to go off the page. So we got to be mindful about where we put our words. I'm going to use my keyboard to just lift this formal invitation up a little bit. And I realized that 0.72 is actually a little bit tall for me. So I'm going to unlock this and make it 0.5. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. Something else I noticed in this image is that I don't want this bottom black line. So I'm going to come over here to contour and I'm going to remove that last black line. I want the top one because there's going to be words on top, but the bottom one I don't really care for. So I'm just going to use the contour tool and take it out. Okay, now form limitation to follow. We can scoot that down. And then before I put my boxes on where the save the date, where the actual date is going to go, I'm going to highlight all of my elements and I'm going to align them to the center just to make sure everything is, you know, looking nice and even. All right. Now from here, we're going to need to go grab our actual date. So I come back over to shapes. I liked the curved edges of the dates because it was a contrast to the actual save the date. And I want these to be about 1.5 inches wide. So these are all going to be squares. So here's one. I need a second one. And I need a third one. And I just used my keyboard Command C and Command V. Just super quick copy and paste. Now from here, I want all of these to be in line. So I'm going to highlight horizontally this time, and I want to center everything vertically. Same thing. I'm going to I'm going to click on all three. And then when I go to align and distribute horizontally, that'll make all of my pieces evenly distributed across. Looks like I did a pretty good job with that already. So now I'm going to group them together. You can right click and go to group. And that means whenever I move one box, I'll be moving all of them. So I don't have to worry about alignment issues anymore. I do want this to be in the middle though. So I'm just going to align center one more time. All right. Now that we've got our actual boxes that things are going to go in, we need to come up with the actual days. So I'm going to take these boxes again. I'm going to duplicate them. And instead of them being 1.5 inches wide, I'm going to take this to 1.25 just to make it a tad bit smaller. And I know it's off center right now. It still looks kind of maybe like that doesn't fit. So let's try 1.35. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. Yeah. Okay, so this little baby block of 3, we're going to turn those into white squares. And essentially, that's how they'll fit, but we're going to move them out the way for right now because we've got to put some letters on there. So I'm going to duplicate this one more time and ungroup these. Again, you can use your mouse or you can come over here to this button and click ungroup. And then I'm going to put these inside of the currently gray squares. The squares won't be gray for long, but for now, we want them inside each. Okay? So now I take one of my white squares and the dark gray square that's directly underneath it. Again, you want to highlight all of them and center vertically. Make sure everything's kind of in the same spot. Those all look pretty good. So now I grab my squares again and I'm going to weld them. And the reason I'm welding them is because my next step is to take the welded version and the group and I want to subtract them. And what happens with subtract is I essentially end up with, three squares that have the white boxes in between. So let's see. Oh, I don't know what's happening there. So let me undo that and try this again. I'm actually going to back up a little bit. I'm sorry, guys, because I think I don't want those to be welded. I think I just want them to be grouped maybe. The only issue with weld is that you can't unweld it like you can subtract. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do them individually. I'm going to take this group. I'm going to ungroup the gray squares, and then I'm just going to do them all separate. So here's one gray. And I'm going to match the gray that's right underneath that one. Okay? And then when I combine and go to subtract, it will give me my gray square that is now transparent, which is what I want. Which is what I want. Okay, same thing. I'm going to click here. And my second square, if it bothers you or you're not feeling like everything is centered, you can center it again and then combine, subtract. And again, that just takes out the middle piece. but it allows you to edit it later. So if you need to put it back, you can. If you need to undo it, you can. So I like subtract over weld because I'm able to kind of move a little bit more flexibly. Same thing, I'm going to come center everything, and then I'm going to combine, subtract. Okay, now I grab all 3 of my subtracted boxes, and I'm going to change the color to the same color I want my envelope to be, which is going to be like a nice, like periwinkle blue color. I feel like it's really, really in season and just says like tea. Same thing with my leaves. I'm going to choose the same periwinkle color, and here we are. Now on these 3 squares here, which fit perfectly into our squares, we want to create an actual date. So I'm going to ungroup this. I'm going to grab my text, and I want the first number not to be in this Greyhound font because I already got the top and bottom in Greyhound. I want the middle to be the Vintage Champagne. So for the first one, we're going to choose March. We're going to choose April. And I think this is a little bit small, so I'm just going to eyeball it. And now let's just make it an even inch. And then I'm going to highlight the square and the number, and I'm going to center both of those things. I want this number to be periwinkle as well, so that it fits within my box. You can take one. We're going to, I actually want to see if this has a writing font. Maybe writing would be cute. We're going to see what it looks like. I don't like it as a writing font. I just want it regular. So we're going to go back to a basic cut, even though we're not really going to cut this out. You could and use vinyl if you want, but I think that's an extra step. So instead, I'm just going to change it into a flattened image so I can print it on my printer and kind of be done with it. So let's back that up so that this is not going to be a writing. It's going to be just regular. And then I'm going to take this to basic and change it to the periwinkle color. And there you go. I'm going to highlight and align center. And then I'm going to flatten this image. So this is how it will print on my printer. And I'm going to place it right into this square. Same thing, grab another text. Let's make it on March the 29th, which is when I'm going to be doing my next, I keep saying March, guys. It's the shamrocks throwing me off, but I really mean April. Make With Me Monday is going to be on April the 29th. For this, we're going to be making DIY tea bags, so I feel like there's no time really like the present. My 4 is 1 inch high, 0.75 wide. So let's unlock this and make it an inch high as well. And this is going to be 0.75. Ooh, that looks kind of smushed. What does 1 look like? Okay, we'll go with a 1 by 1. I think that looks pretty good. All right, same thing. I want this to be the periwinkle color. I'm going to highlight everything, center it, and then I'm going to flatten it. And it will print on my printer exactly as you see it. So there's 429. And then, of course, our year for right now is going to be 24. Again, I can go ahead and unlock this and make it a 1 by 1. Change the color to periwinkle. I want to highlight and center everything and then flatten it. And these are going to be my 3 individual pieces. Now, the reason I want to flatten them individually is because when my printer cuts them out, it will cut in 3 separate boxes. These are the numbers that you can put your scratch off paint on top of. If you're interested in learning how to do that, I did last month's Make With Me Monday DIY scratch off paint, so you can find that in the links in the description box, or you can check out my blog if you want to see a little bit more. Now from here, we're pretty much done, but there is one other thing we have to do. Because we are going to print this all on our printer, we need to make sure this entire image is flattened. So I'm going to regroup my boxes where the dates go. I'm going to regroup those. And then I'm going to highlight everything and align center horizontally. All right, looks good. Now that everything is highlighted, I'm going to flatten this. And my printer is going to print things out exactly as you see it. I'm going to move this to the back. And then once these white boxes with the numbers in them have DIY paint on them, you won't even be able to tell that they are not transparent because my save the date is white. My background for the box is transparent. My background for the numbers are white, so it will blend in really, really nicely. Now, the last thing we got to do is go get ourselves an envelope. So same thing, I'm going to go over to images, and I've saved that envelope for you with the scalloped edges, and that code is pound M3A8EB as in boy. And this is the envelope that I'm going to use. So this is what it will look like folded. Add that to my canvas. And again, my envelope is going to be a really cute periwinkle color. So I'm going to first rotate this -90. That's going to rotate it to the left for me. And then here's a good hack you can use to make sure your envelope always fits. I'm going to bring my save the date to the front. And how I know this save the date will fit in the envelope is if the scored boxes here, the scored lines, fit around my save the date. So let me move these out of the way for now. I'm going to move this to an area where we can see. And then I'm going to line my corners up with the save the date and the score lines. Y'all see that? So then when I click on my envelope, all I have to do is manually resize it so that my score lines wrap my save the date. So I'm getting close, but that bottom one isn't, you can't really see it. So I'm going to pull it out a little bit more and make sure that my save the date fits comfortably inside. That looks pretty good. Keep in mind that most of the paper I use to cut my envelopes is 8.5 by 11. So when you're resizing your envelope, just make sure it fits within that 8.5 by 11 dimension, which this one does. I'm going to make it just a tad bit bigger. And I'm going to unlock it so that I can squeeze in the sides a little bit. All right, there you go. Now, again, we want this to be our periwinkle color, so I'm going to come over here to envelope in my layers panel. And I'm going to change it to that really cute periwinkle color. I'm obsessed. I think it's going to come out looking so good, and it's giving tea themed, right? So the last thing that I want to include is this little emblem like you see for the shamrock. I want to put a teacup there to kind of give a hint for what the save the date is going to be about. I can go ahead and move these back. So I'm going to, I want to bring those to the front. And I'm just going to place them on top so I can remember that they're there. Again, it will print right exactly as we see it. And the last thing I need is my teacup. So I go back to images. I'm going to, again, use a specific code, which is going to be hashtag M8-1D-2A-BD. And this is going to give me my teacup. From there, I need to be mindful that when I fold my envelopes flat down, the teacup will be upside down, right? So if you picture yourself folding this, you'll fold the sides in, you'll fold the bottom up, and then this will come down, which means we need to flip this 180 degrees. So that way, when I pull my envelope down, the teacup will be facing the right direction. But since I'm right-handed, I need the handle to be in my right side. So I'm actually going to flip this one more time, and I'm going to flip it horizontal. So when I flip this lid down, my teacup handle will be on the right side, and it will look upright. The last thing we need to do is I want this to be like a white. I think white would look good, actually. Yeah, I like that. So from here, we need to slice this out so that we don't have to worry about actually like gluing this on. But I do want to give you a little bit of a hack here. If you like how the white looks, you can always duplicate it, turn the teacup into a score line, and then when this cuts out on your Cricut machine, you'll just place it right on top. So you have a very nice, easy way to be aligned. That's one way you could do it, right? And then of course you would need to attach it. The other way you could do it is by treating it like a stencil. And what that means is essentially you will take your, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to move this back up here. So essentially you'll take your teacup, place it where you like. No need to guess. We can just center it, right? Cool. And then you'll want to slice or subtract this out. I'm going to go combine and I'm going to press subtract. And what that does is that makes my envelope transparent. So it'll be open and empty. Now, the issue with this is that when your Cricut machine cuts this out, you'll have to glue in all of these little pieces. Unless you don't care about them and you just want a big old, like teacup, you can take all of these little pieces out by pressing the contour button. I'm going to click hide all, and then essentially it will look like this. But I don't think that gives the vibe of teacup that I want, so I'm going to undo all of that, and I'm going to cut it out and just glue it like a regular piece of teacup. So I'm going to undo the things. Actually, I think it might be, I'm going to undo subtract. There we go. Take this off. Change the envelope back to this portion of it, back to score line. Remember? Yep. Send that to sorry guys. I like to be able to see my score lines now. Send that to the back so my save the date's there, and then I need to go grab my teacup again. So when I go to images, I need to find my teacup. So good thing I wrote the code down. M81D2 ABD. Get my teacup. I remember I have to flip it upside down and I have to rotate it because I want my handle to be on the right side. So essentially I want my teacup to look like this, but when the handle is down, which means in order to achieve that, we've got to rotate it 180 degrees and we've got to flip it horizontally. I think I liked the 1 inch height. Yeah, I think I liked that. And then the way they had it set up, it was centered a little bit to the right, but I want the bottom of the cup to be the center point. So I think this is pretty good there. And then I'm going to highlight this, highlight the teacup, and I'm just going to turn it white. And this is going to cut by itself. So my hack that I told you guys about was to turn that into a score line so I remember exactly where it's supposed to get glued down. Highlight the envelope and the teacup, press attach, send it to the back, and there we go. And that's it. That's all you got to do. You just made an envelope, a teacup emblem. Everything looks really good. I hope you guys learned a lot. If this was helpful for you, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and take this away and save. So if you are at this point in the video, you're like, wow, that was really, really confusing. Like, I just need help. I just have something quick to do. Nothing that I want to really learn. I will link this completed project in the description box below. So you can just go to Design Space and update and change the names and change the dates to your heart's content. I hope you guys learned a lot. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll catch y'all the next time. Bye.